Good morning. And welcome to the third installment of Workforce Wednesday's informational webinar series, sponsored by the Louisiana Department of Corrections in partnership with the Louisiana Workforce Commission and Right on Crime. I am Scott Payton, State Director for Right on Crime, and will be moderating today's webinar. Just a few housekeeping items. Please feel free to enter any questions you may have throughout the presentation in the Q&A box, and we will answer your questions following the presentation. You will also find links to the recordings of past webinars and information on how to register for upcoming webinars, all in the chat box. Before we get started with our presentation, Fidelity Bonding, we will view a pre-recorded video message from the Department of Corrections Secretary, James LeBlanc.
I'm Secretary Jimmy LeBlanc. Thank you for participating in the upcoming events leading up to April's Second Chance Month. We have many planned events that are coming up. Also, thank you all for the work being done specifically around bridging gaps and barriers to post-release employment that has already been in the works. The work around second chances and destigmatizing post-release employment will not happen overnight. We are doing all we can to erase this stigma, including partnering with our community members and with the Louisiana Workforce Commission. The workforce coming out of the DOC is highly trained and ready to work. We offer more than 130 stackable industry-based credentials such as construction, welding, culinary arts, automotive, ServSafe, horticulture, and many, many more. We also offer soft skills training and life skills training, which is so important to you guys. Ultimately, rehabilitation is a decision that has to be made every single day by individuals re-entering back to their friends, families, and communities. However, the support we provide as community partners makes that decision so much easier. And thank you guys for everything that you are doing in our communities and our workforce portals and all the things that are going on in our communities. We really appreciate it, and everyone is working hard to make our state a better place to live.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary, for your continued commitment to ensuring a pathway to successful reentry for the thousands of individuals who return to society each year. This webinar series is an excellent example of the coming together of numerous community partners and government agencies to address a coordinated reentry effort and to ensure success for those who seek a second chance. Today's webinar focuses on another great benefit to employers, the Fidelity Bonding Program. I am joined today by Mr. Kenny Lynch with the Louisiana Workforce Commission. Kenny is the Director of Targeted Populations and Employer Outreach with the Office of Workforce Development at Louisiana Workforce Commission. He oversees the administrative functions and operation of statewide programs of Jobs for Veterans State Grant, Encumber Worker Training Program, and reentry programs statewide by formulating and implementing current and long-range strategic plans, policies, procedures, and regulations, formulates, reviews, and directs the revisions of rules, regulations, and procedures for programs. He also provides guidance and directions on programmatic, regulatory, and legal compliance, and develops and directs the implementation of policies and procedures to assure statewide achievement of goals and performance objectives and adherence to budgetary limits. Thank you, Kenny. And please tell us more about the Fidelity Bonding Program.
Thank you, Ms. Payton. See if I can share my screen here. Okay, so the Fidelity Bonding Program. The Fidelity Bonding Program was established back in 1966 under President Lyndon B. Johnson on the War on Poverty as a demonstration project in partnership with the Department of Labor. This program helps to hard-to-place job seekers get and keep a job. Currently, it is used in over 52,000 job placements in a vast variety of industries. So what is Fidelity Bonding? It is a business insurance policy that insures an employer against employee dishonesty, theft, larceny, embezzlement. It protects against the loss of money and property, basically, and it's free. So, and what is Fidelity Bonding not? Bonds are not transferable from one employer to another. They don't provide coverage for liability for poor workmanship, job injuries, work accidents, etc. And it's not a bail bond or a court bond or a contract bond. And it's not a bond to do a license bond or performance bond. So why is it needed? So some employers view the formerly incarcerated as a potential hazard to the work site or untrustworthy. So, and then some insurance companies will not cover these risky individuals under the commercial fidelity bonds. So that's why the state fidelity bond is an excellent tool because those personnel are deemed not bondable by insurance companies. And this can be a significant barrier to employment. But what this does for the employer, it enables the employer to obtain worker skills without taking any risk. And these persons can become commercially bondable by demonstrating 6 months of coverage under the federal program without any incident, then they can become bondable. So employers have said that without the bonding program, 12% of the employers are willing to hire a person without the bonding program, whereas 51% will hire with the bonding program. And as of today, according to the DOL, 40,000 applicants have been placed, and 99% of the bonded employees have proven to be honest. So who is eligible for bonding services? Formerly incarcerated personnel, that's anyone with an arrest or conviction or imprisonment, recovering substance abusers, alcohol, drugs, welfare assistance, persons with poor financial credit history, including bankruptcies, economically disadvantaged individuals. Now, these individuals who lack work history or underemployed or unemployed, and it is the employer who determines whether a job seeker has a proper work history. So there's also at-risk youth, and then also youth and apprenticeships, or anyone who cannot get employment without a bond. And bonds can also be used to cover workers who are already employed that need bonding in order to prevent being laid off. This would have been great during COVID for people being laid off, or to secure a transfer or promotion to a new job at a company. The only thing that employers need to do is they can, as long as an employee has a tax ID number for Louisiana, then they're eligible for this program. So who is not eligible for bonding services? Independent contractors, those that are working on 1099s, entrepreneurs, self-employed, or high-risk job seekers who are under the age of 18. And then employers who only offer part-time employment are not eligible. So the bonding program is free for the first 6 months of employment. That's no cost to the employers or the job seekers. And bonds are usually available between $5,000 and $25,000 of coverage. There's no deductible, and it's 100% insurance covered. And it's an easy application process. Like I said before, bonds are issued in increments of $5,000 to $25,000, so 5, 10, 15. And then they're up to 6 months is generally the option, but there is an option to go beyond the 6 months of coverage as long as the employee did not engage in any dishonest behavior. But usually $5,000 is enough to cover most employees. And then this coverage is based on financial loss of property, except for vehicles. It doesn't cover vehicles. Bonds in excess of $5,000. So if you want to cover somebody, let's say for up to $25,000, then you have to provide the position and the amount of property that will be lost in that position in a written justification letter when you do the application, when the employer does the application process. And the only requirements is that the employer offers and guarantees a full-time employment to a high-risk job seeker, and they must work at least 30 hours a week or more for the first 6 months. And then basically it's an offer letter that you're providing to the Fidelity Bonding and including everything on that checklist. And then the date that they will begin, and they must be over the legal age of 18. And then federal taxes must be automatically deducted from their paycheck. So here is the actual process. So an employer will complete a bond certification form and submit it to the Louisiana Workforce Commission with a valid job offer, just like I was stating. And then the employer must advertise their jobs in hire. So in order to do that, it must be registered in hire. That's laworks.net. And then the applicant must also apply to that same job posting through laworks.net. And then once that happens, the workforce will certify the file and send an application to the union insurance group. And then the insurance group will send a letter to the employer confirming the bond with the name and of the applicant, and then the amount being insured and the effective date and the period of coverage. And then this letter is sent out immediately and coverage begins immediately. And so I've also attached, here's a website, www.bondsforjobs.com. It has everything you want. It even has some of the flyers that you can use to answer any questions. And then right now I am the point of contact for the bonding for Louisiana Workforce Commission. And I'll just say before I close that in the last 3 years, we haven't issued any bonds at all. So this is a great incentive for employers to use. So if they want, so we can get some of these returning citizens to work.
Thank you, Kenny. We appreciate that, and just want to let everyone know that Kenny took on this responsibility about a day ago due to some unforeseen circumstances. So, Kenny, we definitely appreciate you filling in today and providing this much needed information and important information for employers. We will open it up now for questions and answers. I see we have one question now, Kenny. Question is, do employers need to list their job openings through the Louisiana Workforce Commission, or can they do their job postings on their own?
Well, yes. Thanks, Scott. That's a great question. So yes, they do need to list their jobs through Louisiana Workforce Commission, but they can also add a link in their job application that it can go straight to their own website. So it would go through, because it would give us a job order number to go to.
I see we have another question. If a company wants a bond over $5,000, do they have to provide justification, or is there any way that the company can get a bond in excess of $5,000?
So yeah, if they have to, if they want a bond over $5,000, they must provide a letter saying that this person works in, or just short justification of that this person works in this job or doing this part of the employment, and there's this much property, or they have access to this much property to justify why the amount should be over $5,000.
Okay, Kenny, there's another one. Is there a cap on the number of employees that an employer can receive the Fidelity bond for?
No, there's no cap on the number of employees. As long as they meet the requirements, the eligibility requirements, there is no cap. So if you had 100 employees, if they meet the eligibility requirements, then you can bond 100 employees.
We have another question. If an employee drives a vehicle for their job, that vehicle is still not covered with this bond?
So generally they do not cover vehicles, but that is a great question, and if I get the who's that asked the question? Trying to see. I can find out definitely about the, but generally speaking, vehicles are the only thing that is not covered as far as uh, replacement costs.
And I see we have another question. Is the bond a one-time thing, or can an employer apply for another bond after the 6 months are up?
So an employer can apply, so if it's for the same individual, they can apply to extend the bond for another 6 months, up to a year. They can do that for the same employee, for the same employee. Generally speaking, it can go out to a year.
And is there a cost, or what is the cost if they extend that bond after the free portion is up?
So yes, so generally, if they came through the Fidelity Bonding program here, normally there's no cost. But if they went on their own, then it would be it's an average about $100 for a bond.
And Kenny, I don't want to put you on the spot, but you did mention that, if I heard you correctly, that there have been no bonds issued over the past 3 years.
That is absolutely correct.
Do you know why employers aren't taking advantage of this program?
No, Ms. Payton, I don't know why. We've been advertising, trying to get as much information out. For example, Workforce Wednesdays, for employers, and there's no cost to them. I mean, it's nothing to the employer at all. But 2018 was the last bond that was issued for the state of Louisiana, and we have bonds that are available.
Yeah, I find that interesting because, as you mentioned in your presentation, that this Fidelity bond would cover potential employees that may not be covered under an employer's already existing insurance policy. So it would give that protection, especially when employers are needing employees, and as our economy continues to rebound, employers are going to need to seek out other ways of expanding their talent pool, and the formerly incarcerated and those that have been justice involved are a real good talent pool, and there's a lot of advantages, as we've heard over the past 2 weeks, with the on-the-job training, the work opportunity tax credit, and then if you combine it with the Fidelity Bonding program, and it's definitely not a lack of education on the program, because it's like the Workforce Commission definitely has a lot of information out there about the program.
Absolutely.
Do we have any other questions? I do not see any I see several in the queue. Do you know how extensively this program has been used in Louisiana or in the greater New Orleans region?
Well, like I said, none in the last 3 years. I have a bond. We keep a record of all of the Fidelity Bonding through the state program, and 2018 was the last time the program has been used.
And I think we've answered this question, but after 6 months is up, will the employee be eligible to get a normal insurance bond?
Yes, as long as they have had no incidents of, for example, larceny, theft, or if they've been a model employee for those 6 months, then absolutely they will be commercially bonded.
And I think someone had asked for Kenny's information again. If we can put that in the chat box would be great.
Sure, I can put that in there.
Someone's asked, Kenny, are these bonds strictly for high-risk jobs?
No, therefore high-risk employees that have a background, but not for high-risk jobs. It can be for any job as long as it gets leads to employment and having a job and keeping a job. So there's no a certain job, or it's for any employer.
And is the program available for nonprofit organizations as well?
Yes. So as long as they have a tax ID number, that's all that is required. That's the only requirement for the state of Louisiana.
And looks like one final question is how long is the process for the employer to once they engage with the Workforce Commission? How much paperwork, how much time is involved for the employer to secure a bond?
Great question. So normally all they do is fill out the actual form, the application form, and we get it sent into the union insurance group. And then within 10 days, the actual insurance group normally responds within 10 days. They will get the actual letter sent to them, which basically goes back to the start date for the individual, and then they will receive the bond in the mail.
Okay, we have another question. And maybe Nina can clarify a little bit. It says, is this something the individual lets the employer know about when they apply for the job? I guess, how does the employer know that this person may or may not qualify for Fidelity Bond?
So that's a good question. So if an employee went to apply for a job, say, and I went through the whole process, and they said, well, because of your background, we can't bond you you can't be bonded with our insurance. And then I would say, well, then there is a Fidelity Bonding, there's a federal program, Fidelity Bonding program. Are you aware of it? And then once that happens, if they have my information, or they reach out to me or the Workforce Commission, we will get into contact with the employer then, and we can start the process.
Okay, looks like we have another question and an offer from Goodwill. Can you do a direct contact with employers? And if you can, Goodwill is offering to facilitate that introduction.
Yes, we can do a direct contact with an employer. That's easy. So if they're the employer, they just let me know. I can do a direct contact, and we can go.
Another question is, can employers can only apply for bonding at initial hiring?
No. So again, if there's two other caveats to the bonding process. So if someone was going for a promotion and then they can't be bonded, or they find out, or something happens during and that they become ineligible, then they can apply for bonding, or if they're to prevent a layoff. So the answer to the question is no, they can apply at any time.
Another question, is there a flyer that potential employees can provide to their employer along with their application?
Yes, I have a flyer. This is a flyer for, if you can see this is on the website, the bondsforjobs.com. This is a flyer for employers and employees. And I can send you a copy of this flyer if you send me an email when I get through typing, putting my information in the system. I can send you a copy of the flyer, and it tells them everything that they need to do.
Sounds great. Again, Kenny, thank you. Looks like we're out of questions now, so we will head to our conclusion. Today's session is the third of our 4-part webinar series to educate employers on the benefits of hiring quality candidates with criminal records. Join us in 2 weeks on Wednesday, April 7th at 10:30 a.m. as we will hear success stories from individuals who have navigated the journey from release to employment. Please see the chat box for registration and upcoming events information. Again, today's session and future sessions will be recorded and are made available for viewing and sharing. This series will end in April, which is Second Chance Month, with additional events to include a virtual Second Chances job fair. More details on these upcoming events will be included in future registration links. Following today's presentation, please hang around for a few moments to complete a quick survey, and it may already be on your screen now. Again, thank you for attending today, and we are looking forward to the next installment of Workforce Wednesdays. Have a great rest of the week.